No, it gets 4 votes. Okay. Hey. Daniel's here. Awesome. Oh, well, welcome back, everybody. Long time no see. Yeah, no see. Well, I'll tell you, I've never felt, really so unprepared for a meeting in my life. I think one, because I've been fighting this ulcer on my eye. So I've really just had, one good eye for a while. I came in wearing an eye patch today, and the praise band roasted me pretty good with pirate jokes. So I put an end to that pretty quickly. But also, I'm not going to lie to you, I might have a little bit of springitis, a little senioritis, given my terms coming to an end. But I really thank everybody for being here. As you guys know, this has been a year like no other that we can compare it to. But amidst all the challenges and uncertainties, we really have so much to celebrate. As Pastor and I talked about themes for this year, do you remember we did a fun kind of award ceremony last year? We landed on the idea of hope. So yes, today we are, celebrating the year that's behind us, but it's also about looking ahead. Because when we look ahead, we have so much hope for the future. According to Merriam-Webster, hope means a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. Grounds for believing that something good may happen. And I don't know about you, but I have grounds for believing that good things are around the corner in this coming year. Google tells me that the word hope is used in the Bible somewhere between 142 and 108 times, depending on what version that you're reading. And when I dug into some of these verses, it seemed wherever hope appeared, so too did love and faith, or love or faith, that they always seem to live together. In 1 Corinthians, we hear the very famous, and now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. Of course, the Bible says the greatest of these is love. Today it's going to be hope, right? We're going to put that up front. But the verse that really struck a chord with me was Hebrews 11, actually. Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So I'm going to say that again. Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So hope doesn't exist without our faith, and we are, in fact, people of faith, literally and figuratively. So I'll have you move me to the next slide, if you would, please. There's an agenda printed in your annual report. But this is what I think it's on page 18. Thank you. But this is what our time together is going to look like. I guess you can consider the meeting called to order and officially welcomed. So that's done. I'm going to turn it over to Pastor to lead us in devotion and prayer in just a moment. Then we're going to get those minutes from 2019 approved before we celebrate our ministries, which we know is our favorite part. From there, we're going to move into the budget discussion and elections, which is going to conclude our business. And then I'm going to invite Pastor back up for a little talk that we're calling Looking Forward. So with that, I'll invite Pastor up.
Welcome, everyone. This is on, right? Don? Good. All right. So I wanted to read for you today out of John chapter 6, verses 1 through 14. This was a Bible study that was used at a stewardship symposium I was part of on Friday. And the pastor, she spoke about, she did a Bible study on this text and just talked about just the generosity, the abundance, and the amazing grace that we could hear through this story as you guys will hear. So this is probably one that you'll be familiar with, the feeding of the 5,000. After this, Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, also called the Sea of Tiberias. A large crowd kept following him because they saw the signs that he was doing for the sick. Jesus went up the mountain and sat down there with his disciples. Now the Passover, the festival of the Jews, was near. When he had looked up and saw a large crowd coming toward him, Jesus said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread for these people to eat?" He said this to test them, for he knew himself what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 6-month wages would not buy enough bread for each of them to get a little. One of the disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. And what are they among so many people?" Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was a great deal of grass in the place, So they all sat down, about 5,000 in all. Then Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. When they were satisfied, he told the disciples, gather up the fragments left over, so that nothing may be lost. So they gathered them up. From the fragments of the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten, they filled 12 baskets. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they began to say, this is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world. I know you guys are pretty familiar with the story. It's one of Jesus's famous miracles. But in that story, we got large crowds, about 15,000, not just 5, because we're going to include women and children. But they find a little boy who has the food, a small amount of food. And yet God is able to use that little boy's offering. And Jesus gives thanks for it, a thankful heart, and there's enough to go around. So we've talked about this before, about that we serve a God of abundance, a God of grace, and a God who can do so much with what we have to offer. So we don't want to limit God. We don't want to think God can't do it, because we know God can. And as we go into 2021, whatever that may look like, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, whatever, we know God is there and God can be trusted and that God will continue to use us. Let's pray. Loving God, thank you for bringing us here to the Celebration of Ministries, which is really a celebration of you and all that you have done. Lord, continue to use us as your servant leaders. Continue, Lord, to use us to share the good news of your gospel in wonderful and creative ways. And help us, Lord, always to put our faith and trust in you. A God who just keeps on giving, a God who continues to surprise us, a God who continues to bless us, that we may always be a blessing in the world. Bless people of faith, bless all the ministries here, bless each one of us, and just bless all those going through difficult times today. We ask this in Jesus Christ, our risen Lord and Savior's name we pray. Amen.
Okay, minutes from this year's annual meeting are found on page 19. Thank you. You'd think I'd have that written down. A big thank you to Krista for not only keeping notes last year, but for having them at the ready when I couldn't find them. I do that every year. Who has the annual meeting notes? I'm hoping you have the chance to review those, and I'm looking for somebody to make a motion to approve those minutes. Suzette's made a motion. I need a second. Renee seconds. Any discussion? Do we have any yays? Everyone yays? Any nays? Okay, approved. Love it. Done. Also, a big thank you to Krista for taking notes again this year. Appreciate it. Okay, we can move to the next slide, if you will, and we're moving into our favorite part, which is our celebration of ministries. Not long after the pandemic, Pastor posted a story on Facebook, and I'm not sure if he remembers it. I'm not sure if anybody else clicked on it, but it was about the turmoil churches were going through across the nation, struggling with COVID-19. And I was, as the kids today say, shook, absolutely shook. Because it wasn't necessarily that, it wasn't just about churches are trying to figure out the technology and how are we going to gather, or worry about budgets because they weren't sure if people were going to be able to afford to give. It was a story of this inner strife that was happening within congregations. Members who were in communities that had a mandated shutdown were standing up and saying, if the church doesn't open its door on Sundays, I'm gone. I'm going to find another place to worship. And an equal number of people standing up saying, hey, in-person worship resumes too soon before I think it's safe. I too am going to walk away and find another place to worship. And I was like, wow. I truly had this moment where I was like, felt so tremendously blessed and thankful that was not a situation that we were in. Because I know in this congregation, there's people that wear blue. I know there's people that wear red. But in no point in time did the politics of the pandemic ever divide this congregation, because we are people of faith. We are a body of believers that kept the single most important thing at the center of it all. And that was him and the work that he called us to do. So I'm just extremely proud that we never stopped being church. And there's really no words that I can properly acknowledge and thank staff in a year like we had. I'm not going to stand here and recite everything in the annual report. It's why we print it and give it out and ask you to read it. But I'll tell you, from figuring out how to worship online, to dragging things outside and then back inside and then back outside and then back inside so that people could, worship out loud worship outside when we thought that was safest. By sticking around and offering, drive-through communion or delivering it to people that needed to stay home, to organizing daily devotions. Think about that, daily devotions as a way to keep us in the Word together, to figuring out new online platforms to keep the Roadhouse kids engaged, and to taking boxes of goodies to those kids on a weekly basis as a way to keep the connection with them, to finding safe way to continue to participate in the service opportunities like 2x2 or the blessing bags. And despite the personal risk, think about this, despite the personal risk, to continue to come to work every day to take care of the kids enrolled at Children's Lighthouse, which never closed. I truly am in awe of our staff. And of course, we thank and celebrate our staff every year. But this year, I just think it's really important. I want to make sure that each and every member doesn't underappreciate the work that these faithful servants put in this year. Because it was extra hours, extra worries, extra learnings, not once, but over and over and over again, right? As we tried to figure out how to evolve with the pandemic and as the rules changed. So I know thank you is not enough, but to our staff, please join me in saying thank you to them. Pastor, Nefti, Krista, Julianne Emmanuel, and of course, Deanna. Amazing, truly in awe. As I mentioned, the theme of the day is hope. And I really wanted you to hear from, you can go to the next slide, sorry. And I really wanted you to hear from each ministry leader. So I've asked them each to put together a short video for you talking about their hopes for the year ahead. So with that, I'll ask you to roll tape.
Good morning, church. I'm down here on the West Orange Trail. I was actually thinking of a different spot, but there was a grass cutter going. It was kind of loud, so I decided to move over here. But I took this path to get over to this bench to make this video. Speaking of paths, we just got off a crazy one with the year 2020. I think we can all agree to that. But we are on a new path now in 2021. I think we learned some good lessons last year about being able to change, being able to be creative, being able to remember what's important: family, friends, relationships, church. And as we go forth in 2021, my hope is that we will continue to grow as disciples in Christ. Of course, we need the Holy Spirit to make that happen. But for us to continue to read and study God's Word, for us to continue to worship on a regular basis, whether it's in person or a live stream, for us to continue to meet with church members, even with people outside the church, to be able to share our faith in new and creative ways, to be able to reach out and share the hope and love that we find in Christ, and to be able to take part in service opportunities too, to remember that we are church together, and to know that Christ is with us always. So as we go into this new year of uncertainty, we know that Christ is certain. But like last year, that may cause us to change some things, to be more creative with other things. But for us, just remember our mission, and that is to share the gospel. May we never forget that. And may we always just look for new and inviting ways to share this love of Christ to all. Because we know that people are going to need hope. They needed hope last year. They need hope this year. People are always in need of hope. And we have the greatest hope of all in Jesus Christ. So thank you all for your continued support through 2020, for your prayers, for your offerings, and keep it all up. We're going to need it all. And again, I encourage you to think outside the box in your personal growth, in your discipleship. To remember that Jesus Christ is with us and will lead the way. Hey, God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Hello, everyone. Today we're here to celebrate hope. We're here to celebrate the hope that we have in our Lord. We're here to celebrate the hope we have for 2021 and to reflect back on how we were able to bring hope to people in 2020. So I looked up hope. It means a feeling of expectation and desire that something is going to happen. But there was also an archaic meaning of the word hope, and that is a feeling of trust. And I think when you combine the expectation and desire with a feeling of trust is how we get our hope in the Lord, because we trust Him with our lives and with all that we do, and we pray that that He will use what we bring for His good. So as we look back on 2020, I know we were able to bring hope to a lot of people through our care kits and through goodie bags and through the gleaning that we did and through the daily devotions and things. And all of these things connect us with one another, with our faith, and with those around us in our community. And so as we look forward to 2021, we hope many things. We hope that our lives will return to some sort of normalcy, which is going to be a new and different normal. But I think that's a good thing. Going back to our hope in the Lord, we know that our lives are full of challenges, and that's how we grow. And so I pray that that we grow through these challenges, and that's how our faith grows as well. And so our new normal is, I hope, going to be better than our old normal. And I pray that we will take the things we've learned in 2020 and continue to move forward and grow with them. So in 2021, I hope that we can get back to some sort of more in-person worship. We are having in-person worship, but I'd really like to be able to get where we see many more faces back in worship, and when we can hug one another and shake hands again and experience that vital human connection that's so important for us, both on a human level and on a spiritual level and an emotional level as well. And so that's one hope I have for 2021. I also hope to expand our connection to each other and those that we don't even know through more social media, which is definitely going to be a challenge for me. And I also hope to expand the 2x2, which we did back in 2019, and to go and reach out to our neighbors more. So that is what I hope for 2021.
Hello, people of faith. So 2021, what does that look like for the Roadhouse? Well, last year we discovered Discord, and we were able to grow a community on the internet. We also built a website that has been used and is continuing to be used as a hub for events and new information pertaining to anything that's going on in the Roadhouse. 2021 is about taking the successful ideas and implementations we had last year and the ones before that and combining them into a hybrid collaboration where we have both a local presence and an online presence. There's a lot of things working behind the scenes, and my work with Pastor Rick as well as our council president Cheryl has been about outlining the future vision of this place. And that future vision falls into 3 words: learning, connecting, and serving. So learning is all about mentorship. With RAT, we're looking at expanding our RAT roster. I'm currently working on a RAT handbook that teaches 4 of the main principles of leading at the Roadhouse. I personally want to encourage my team, as well as all the young people here, to be better independent thinkers, more critical at their assessments and just choices at life, and more grace-filled. Connecting is all about community development. Last year we did so well with the online introduction. I want to take the things we learned there and the things we were really good at doing locally, combine them, and just bring Roadhouse to the world. Volunteering is the reflection of what Roadhouse is to many people. It's not just this familial space, but it is driven by the volunteering people of the community. They all work together to make this place what this is. And we're taking that same spirit and we're bringing it to a local level. We're going back out there. We're doing God's work with our hands. So 2021 is all about capitalizing on the successes we've had in the past and using them to encourage and empower our youth. And frankly, I'm looking forward to that. Take care. God bless.
Hello, people of faith. This is Deanna Gustafson here. I am the director at Children's Lighthouse Learning Center of People of Faith, and I am wanting to share with you my hopes for the 2021 year. My hope for this ministry is for us to continue to be a Christ-centered environment, and that we are able to increase our enrollment as safely as possible, and truly to remain a beacon of hope in our community for our staff, the kids that we serve, the families that come in and out, and just that they know that they are loved and that we provide the best possible care that we can for them. I also want to introduce you to the leadership team here at Children's Lighthouse, and I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves to you, and we're just looking for a really great, awesome year full of hope for 2021.
Hi, my name is Carmen Garay, and my hope for this year is that we have a little bit more normalcy and we have a building full of smiling children.
Hi, my name is Miss Andrea. I am the Marketing and School Engagement Coordinator here at Children's Lighthouse, and my hope for 2021 is to be able to plan events for all of the family to come to so that we can engage in fellowship.
Hello, I'm Miss Mimi, and my hope for the year is that we can get back into the worship center all together for Jesus Rocks every week, like before.
Hi, this is Miss Shanna. My hope for the new year is that we are all safe, loved, connected, and that we are hopefully able to get back to a little bit more of a normal routine. My hope is always to continue to be the beacon of light that a lighthouse is supposed to be for families, for children, for staff. If you come to Lighthouse, you know that you are loved, and this is a safe place for everybody. Happy New Year.
I love Children's Lighthouse!
Hi, this is Emmanuel.
And this is Julianne. And together, we are part of
the Music and Worship Ministry. This is what we've looked like for most of 2020.
But in case you have forgotten, this is what we really look like. In case you didn't know, we've been married for 13 years and together for 17 years.
What? That long?
Ha ha ha.
These are our children. Noah is 11, Isabel is 6, and Allison is 5.
While we are kept busy leading this ministry, the kids sure keep us busy too.
During this pandemic, we were forced to be innovative in order to stay connected.
So, as a result, we've been working on upgrading our technology. Over the last few months, we invested in new equipment like this, and more that you see here. But the most important thing is the help, the guidance, direction, expertise, his time, and his labor.
Okay, we got it.
That we have received from our friend Edo.
Edo is a graduate student from UCF majoring in computer science. He is originally from Indonesia.
Together, we have been working on elevating the live stream quality in order to reach the masses using social media platforms like Facebook, our YouTube channel, and the peopleoffaith.org website.
Our hope for this ministry in 2021 is to reach out to more people, continue working together, and continue to adapt and be open-minded to the new normal. We want to thank you all again for your continued support throughout 2020.
We pray for a wonderful, safe, and healthy year ahead, and that we all continue to be ministers of Christ.
The peace of Christ be with you always.
Seen them. That just amazing. Again, just really in awe of what everybody accomplished this year. And nobody had to stand and say, hey, do this, or Nefti, have you thought about this, right? Everyone just really dug into their ministries and led them. Before we move on to budget, it's not only staff that we should celebrate, but it's also each of you. After all, we are the church. I want to start with the big thanks for those who serve in the praise band. You guys are just amazing. And not just, here on a weekly basis, but going over Inspired Living and caroling at the Lighthouse, all kinds of things, which is really awesome. A special thanks to Regan, who has taken on the task of getting servants to help week after week. It's amazing. To Edo and JB, who make the live streaming possible for sure. Fritz and Lance as examples of who routinely usher. Suzette and Renee for counting week after week after week. To those that routinely read, like Carolyn and Sue as examples. To all those that have given children's sermons, including Carol, and of course Tracy. I don't know where Tracy went, and then Pastor Barbie. Let's not forget about Pastor Barbie and all of her children's sermon. Bill for his care of the Faith House. Gloria for all your help in setting up communion, of course, pre-pandemic. Pam was a one-woman welcoming band, I think, or welcome wagon, I guess I should say, before the pandemic. Every single person who wrote a devotion, for all those that are serving on council, I'm going to get to you later. I mean, I could keep going. I could point to every single one of the people in this room to thank you for being involved. The list goes on and on. But as you guys know, we weren't called to go to church. We were called to be church. And so thank you for each of you for your service. Okay, now, yeah, get it? Okay, so we're going to roll into budget. Is there anybody that wasn't here but didn't get to participate in the budget meeting that we had last week? Listen in. Okay, Lance goes like this. Okay, because I don't want to make anybody sit through the same thing twice, but I also want to make sure that everybody is kind of up to speed. So I am going to move through this really, really quickly, probably truncated of what we did at the last meeting, just for sake of time. And if anybody needs to stop or ask questions, let's do that. So as we roll to the next slide, again, our budget, as we talked about, it's not just numbers, dollars, cents, keeping the lights on, right? It's more than just an annual exercise that we do. Next slide, our budget provides fulfilling worship, keeps us connected, provides learning opportunities, spiritual growth, blesses homes, baptizes, the list goes on and on, right? So our budget is really about supporting these ministries, and it's important that we don't lose sight of that as we talk about the numbers. On the next slide, can you go to the next slide, please? I'm sorry, and then I'm going to have you bounce back. I should have changed those. Because the first thing I want to do is really celebrate 2020 and the fact that we balanced the budget. I'm not going to go through the numbers here, but really just amazing in a year that was so financially stressful for so many people. Even though we didn't meet our goal for giving, which was a little bit of a stretch goal, our giving was pretty consistent with last year, which is really, really, truly amazing. And then I love the fact that towards the end of the year, we were able to not take as much money as we had planned from the Lighthouse Ministry. Because of course they struggled with not having as many kids in daycare. And we were able to secure a loan, a small business loan for about $29,000, which is calculated really just based on our payroll. And we're going to go through the process where that will be fully forgivable. So really, just really, truly amazing that we balanced the budget. I'm going to make it complicated now and go back one screen. One slide, if you will. And the conversation that, we started probably about 6 months ago, and then we had again last week, was that Children's Lighthouse has remained open, which is really, really amazing. They've had to manage positive cases and, all kinds of new things. But when you look at what's happening there, before pandemic, they were at about 273 kids. April, when we were in the thick of it, got to a low of 52. And you can see we're rebounding from that with 181 enrolled now. So they did end up, I think, positive, if you will, from the budget, but that was largely due to the loans that they received, to the total of about $200,000. Most of that, I think, forgivable. But currently, as we move into the new year, until we get enrollment up to about 237 kids, the Lighthouse will continue to operate in the negative by about $25,000 to $30,000. Thankfully, this is a business and a ministry that's been so well managed. There are reserves there to be able to pull from. But what it means from us is that we really need to be self-sufficient in this year ahead, so that ministry can focus on getting squared away. Okay. So now you're going to have to move me forward two. You can move past. Yeah. So thank you. So the 2021 recommendation that we put in front of you last week, I've compared our actuals from this year to what we're proposing. You can see our expenses are a little bit higher. It's about what we budgeted last year, even though we came in under it. Offering is a pretty big stretch goal to the tune of almost $20,000. But we need to stretch ourselves here, and you can see significantly less from the Lighthouse. And again, if you're good at math, you can see that doesn't add up, and there's a gap. So there's potentially about $70,000 there that we have to find other ways to fund, right? Gifts, grants, fundraising. We'll go after another small business loan. That process is open again. Okay. On the next slide, I just give a little bit more granularity into where our money goes and how it supports our ministry. And we've talked year after year after year about the fact that we have so many expenses that are just expenses that we have to have, right? Like workman's comp and liability and a utility bill, right? I mean, there's so much stuff that just is. We can't exactly, make it smaller or make it go away. We went through, with council multiple times, line by line by line, to try to figure out where we could skinny things up, what we could change, how we could look at things differently. And so I've listed those out for you, the ones that I felt like were most significant, including eliminating nursery care. So when we get back to providing nursery care, we're going to have to find another way at that. In conversation and coordination with Bill, we're going to eliminate cleaning of the Faith House, probably for this coming year. And the crew, the Roadhouse kids have a pretty robust cleaning strategy as they leave, so that's really going to help. And then the satellite counseling center is the other thing that's to the tune of about $2,500 that we put away from that every year, is something that we think we're going to have to let go of this year. Doesn't mean we can't still leverage that counselor, can't push people in that direction, but probably won't be able to give a gift of the size that we were. So I'm going to put what we're voting on back up on the screen on the next slide to show you those numbers again. Really what we're looking for, what I'd be looking for in a motion, I think, after we've had any discussion that we need, is that we would approve this budget for 6 months. And at 6 months, we need to come back together again to see where we are and where we need to pivot or evolve from there. We did not feel comfortable or confident at this point in time to know what the year holds from us, right? In the next month, Children's Lighthouse could have 300 kids, right? Who knows, right? As people go back to work, more kids are going to come back into our care, as an example, right? So we really have no idea what's around the corner. So it doesn't feel right to make any really significant changes in what we're doing today in our ministries. We want to really go after, each of us giving more as we can. Again, grants, fundraising, those types of things. But we need to come back together again in 6 months, see where we are. And there may be some tough decisions to make at that time. Council, of course, is going to continue to look at this on a monthly basis. We have to discuss it sooner. We will. We'll come together. Whew, hustled through that. So I'll just open it up for any discussion. $1,200 for telephone. Yes, so that is probably Pastor's cell phone. I think Suzette's looking right now just to confirm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Mobile telephone. Yeah. Any other questions? There's a big line item on there. It's $3,600 for the printer. That is something we've explored trying to get rid of. Unfortunately, we're stuck in that contract. And to get out of it, we'd still be paying the $3,600 for the printer for the next couple of years. So I think 2, does that sound right, Krista? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so just for people at home to make sure you heard that, we could adjust that to get to a lower number, but then we're locked into a longer contract. And so I think what we want to do is just see it through for the next couple of years and then just move on and do something completely differently. Yeah, for the tune of $3,600 a year. Yeah, I mean, you can't buy out of it. They're like, yeah, you can stop using the printer, but we're still going to charge you, right? Yeah, I think it's 2 more years. Yeah.
Can you just explain a little bit more about the counseling center in terms of cutting out? How do we save money by getting rid of that?
Yeah, so the counseling center. So there were 2 line items for the counseling center. One is I don't want to say we pay them a fee, but we give them a gift in order to be a satellite counseling center, because then they do all of the billing and the scheduling and all of that kind of stuff, right? So it's kind of a gift to them, and that was to the tune of, I think, about $1,500. And then we had always budgeted $1,000 to pay for anybody that couldn't afford to get care. And we haven't chewed through a lot of that $1,000 in the year or so since we've been doing it. Maybe only like 500, sometimes. So there is certainly, we could come across someone in the next year, who somebody knows personally can't afford to get care, and we can take a special offering and, kind of help in that way. But we think, there's so few places where we could create change, and that felt like one of them.
So will we still house the counseling center here, or that goes away?
It it would probably go away. That's still a conversation that we have to have with Lutheran counseling services, because we really have to give thought to, if we don't have kind of that contract with them or the dollars with them, what that means from a liability service, liability, and those types of things of having somebody in the faith house. But we can certainly explore it. Like if they want to stay in the Winter Garden area, and they know we just can't afford the gift this year, that might be something we can look into. Suzette.
Also, most of it is counseling is like virtual now, as opposed to, so that I don't see that changing for at least 6 months.
Yeah, so Suzette just shared that all the counseling right now is really being done virtually, which probably isn't going to change anytime soon. So that's just a conversation that we need to have. Krista, were you? For the year. Any other questions? Okay, so I think what we're looking for really is a motion to approve this budget for 6 months, knowing that it's going to have to be revisited at that time. All right, Jason's got a motion. I need a second. Fritz is a second. Any discussion? We already did discuss here. Yay? Yay? Any nays? Are we doing okay on chat? Okay, thank you, Juliana, for thank you guys. This is really something to keep on hearts and minds, and I think it's really going to be a full court press in terms of exploring the things we can do. Nefty's been amazing with going out and identifying some grants for the Roadhouse. We're definitely going to, want some people to help proofread and contribute, especially if you have grant writing knowledge. We've got some fundraising ideas cooking that we want to look into. And then, of course, council is going to go after, another loan that will help. I should also mention that we're starting about $50,000 ahead going into this year, right? So that helps give us a lot of cushion, but we certainly can't be lazy. Okay, awesome. Budget. What's next? You're gonna have to turn the slide for me to know. Votes. Awesome. Okay. So now that the budget is voted on, it's time to cast our ballots and a few additional things. You can move to the next slide, I think. But the first is church council. It has been my pleasure to serve with an amazing group of servants. Pastor, of course, Fritz, Roger, Cole, Daniel, Cherie, and now Suzette. They're each so smart, but also filled with a spirit of service. They're each passionate, but also level-headed, which is a nice combination. And along with staff, I truly have to say that they have just really made my job easy. I'm pleased to say that Fritz, Roger, Cole, and Daniel have all agreed to serve for another year. So that's amazing. And while we will also vote Suzette in as well, just as a reminder, she is acting as interim treasurer, and we do want to replace her ASAP. Between her and Cherie, they have really simplified the role and put a lot of automation in place to make it easy for somebody to step into that. So while we will vote her in today, please consider this as another plea for somebody to step into that. I know most of you in the room probably know Suzette well, and I don't think anybody would consider her a complainer by any means. She's solution-oriented. And not long after she took the role, she said, Cheryl, between counting and taking this on, it's about a full-time job, and it's too much for me. And that weighs heavy on me. And I'm sharing it because I think it needs to weigh heavy on everybody. Because we need somebody to step into these roles, and you just have to know that you'll be supportive. You will be supported as you do that. We also don't have anybody in the secretary position, so I'm going to put that on your hearts and minds as well. I've taken my own notes the last few years, which actually worked okay with me and kind of helped keep me on task, but it's a little bit outside of the Constitution, and just, not the way that we should continue moving forward. Now, with that said, it is with tremendous amount of trust, confidence, and gratitude that Tim Frank has agreed to serve as our next council president. He has been participating in our meetings for a few months now, and he's just going to be so great at this job for so many reasons. I mean, his faith just runs so deep, and he just has this great, calm, rational disposition about him. I wish he was here that we could celebrate him. There he is. I am. Just really amazing. I remember talking to Julie one day, and I said, Julie, I'm thinking about asking Tim. She kind of went, and then we talked about him. By the end of that conversation, she was like, you should ask him. You should ask him. So thank you, Tim. Just really amazing. So before we vote in our known council members, I'm just going to open it up to any discussion or thoughts on those open positions. Okay, we'll continue. No, I will not be staying on council. I will be supporting Tim, from behind the scenes for sure, in whatever transition that needs to look like. And as Pastor reminds me, just 15 minutes ago, your work here is not done. Still going to serve, and I absolutely will. Constitutionally, these roles are for 2 years. In fact, one of the next things that we'll talk about is a nominating committee. So most of the people that are on council now really are going to roll off in this next year, and so it's really important that we're planning ahead. And I was 3. My first year was interim, by the way. My first year was my interim year. Last 2, I guess, were official, huh? So I think at this point, I'm looking to make a motion to vote in council. Again, that's Pastor, Fritz, Roger, Cole, Daniel, and Suzette. Renee moves it. I have a second. Jerry seconds. Any conversation? Yay? Yay. Any nays? Okay, right on. Yay. And thank you, everybody, for your, I've got to tell you, I know the perception that council, has, and it just hasn't been my experience. It just hasn't been my experience here. I mean, it just really has been a blessing to sit around the table with, just smart people that care about the work. And again, staff just makes it, really, really so easy that, we just kind of, set some direction and step aside and let everybody do their thing. So I really just, again, encourage people to think about serving in that capacity. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to get some help with the nominating committee. Again, most committee members should roll off pretty soon because they're really 2-year appointments. So we really need to start looking forward. I think Linda and Krista were, serving as nominating committee, but looking for others to really start making some phone calls, getting in people's ear. Yes. Maybe me. I feel like that's what I've been doing for 3 years. But I would be happy to serve in that way. I laugh because I remember when Pastor asked me to serve on council probably 6 years ago, and I was teaching Sunday school with Melinda, and she's like, "I can't believe you said yes," and I said, "Pastor asked me. I didn't know you could say no." I was like, I didn't know that was a choice, and here we are, 6 or 7 years later. Okay, I will agree to serve, and then I'll keep seeking other people to serve along with me in that regard. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Thank you, Krista. Reagan's good. I'm going to let him just keep. He is a one-man nominating committee.
First on my list, Jason.
He's a headhunter.
I love it. He is. I know. Between the two of them, pretty good. Pretty hard to say no to these two. That's for sure. Okay. Okay, so Synod. Is there anything you want to say about Synod? We usually have 2 voting members. I don't know if it's going to be virtual.
It's going to be live.
Oh, it's going to be live.
In September. Yeah.
Live in September.
I believe it's going to be in Kissimmee as well, where we've had it before. So.
I think so. Be in Kissimmee, so that'll be, not an overnight trip or those types of things. And you're looking for 2 people.
Yeah, if 2 or just 1. So we're trying to keep expenses as well down.
Yeah. Okay.
But it'd be carpooling or their own transportation. So.
Anyone interested in going to Synod?
Tell us a little more about it.
Come on up.
Well, every year.
Is it a 3-day convention?
Yeah, it's a 3-day convention. Last year, I can't remember if we had it or not because with the whole pandemic, but usually we get together, you get to see pastors and other church members from all around our synod. There's workshops, there's different business meetings going on, but you get to learn more about just the larger church per se, especially if you haven't been to one, and we try to invite people who haven't been to one just to see and experience it. But it's pretty much all day long. We come back here at night, leave in the morning. But it's really educational, and it's just a great way to make connections with other churches and just see what's happening throughout our synod and what's happening with other churches as well. So if you haven't been to one, I definitely invite you to come and be a official member. But again, it's also open to anybody too as a guest as well. So who'd like to come? I'm going. It's going to be in person, so we're going to try at least. I guess we'll see what happens as time goes on, but. It'll be,
usually weekend?
Yeah, it'll be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday in September. I wrote down the dates in my book. I don't have my book with me, though, but it's about like the 16th, 17th, and 18th, maybe somewhere along there, about mid-September. So, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Excellent. All right.
All right. So if somebody wants to move to vote Carolyn in to Synod. So moved. Second. Second to Renee. Aye. Any nays? Right on. Okay. Look at that. Business done. Check, check, check. I'm going to give it back to Pastor once he gets his get up on. Talk to us about looking forward.
All right.
I think first we need to give a big hand to Cheryl.
Oh yeah, we're not done yet. We're not done. She's not done. More importantly, she's not done. More importantly, she's not done. But yes, I'd just like to reiterate what Cheryl's been saying. I mean, with her and Fritz, our council members, Cole and Suzette and Daniel and Cherie, with our amazing staff, Julian, Emmanuel, Edo, definitely Edo. Wow, where would we be without you guys? I mean, what would worship look like? Where would we be? So, God bless you guys. Nefty, staying connected with the kids. We know it's been a hard time with the pandemic this past year and kids being isolated, not being able to gather. And we know how important it is to be able to gather socially together, but he's stayed connected with them through Discord. So that's been wonderful in the snack boxes as well. And Krista, I don't think you ever sleep at all. He just continually works and does amazing work. So thank you for that. So, hey, if my job's easy, it's because I'm surrounded by wonderful, hardworking, smart, awesome people, and God bless them, and we're blessed to have them. And all you guys as well. I mean, we all play a part in it. We're a small church, so it's not like, there's a lot of things that, we can have other people do. But we all take part in it. We all make it happen in small roles and great roles, in roles that you get acknowledged for, in roles you don't. hey, God sees and God knows, and it's all for God's glory. We're always pointing to God. So thank you all for all your hard work and your time and just continuing to bless the ministries here, because without you, it wouldn't happen. Your time, your money, your energies, your commitments. So, and just keep talking to Regan about getting involved volunteering wise. And you know, there's other great leadership positions as well, like Cheryl mentioned, on council and stuff. And we just want to, you know, make sure that we continue just to follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So looking forward, if I could have my first slide there. Got some pictures for you guys. So, yeah, the Stewardship Symposium I attended this past Friday. It was really wonderful. Fritz was there for most of the time. A lot of great things that I'm hoping our Stewardship Committee will be able to watch. Just wonderful things by Mike Ward. He's a pastor, but just has done amazing stuff with stewardship. He also is a beekeeper, so he's, you know, he's, I love natural honey, so to have somebody who takes care of bees, it's awesome. But he talks about the importance of story. We have the greatest story of all, right? In Jesus Christ, God's story, God loving God's people, God coming down to us in Jesus, and God remaining with us through it all, throughout our lives, and even after these lives are over. We have the greatest story to tell. And Mike Ward would say, you know, we need to continue to share stories with one another, with people on the outside. Share stories about where God has impacted our lives, whether it be today, a few days ago, this past week, to be able to see where God is living and active in our lives and what a difference that makes. So he's all about storytelling. So with that being said, once upon a time, last fall, we were talking about a way to try to connect with people with the pandemic. People had been, you know, in their homes for a long time. Probably some are still are in their homes, just with the whole pandemic going on, being socially isolated. And we thought, hey, let's try to do something that might bring people together. And so, poof, the idea of a bike gathering or a bike club. I don't think we have a really cool name attached to it, bike club, for lack of better terms. So we decided that, hey, let's maybe once a month just try to invite people out for a bike outing. It'll be outside. We can gather together. It'll be fun just to see one another. It'll be fun just to maybe take a bike ride on the trail. We have an amazing West Orange Trail. But the main thing is just to get together and do something together, because we had all been in our houses for so long and isolated. And so we started that. And so our first thing is to gather. We wanted to gather, and how important that is for us as human beings to be able to gather, but also as church, because we are better together. That's going to be my theme. We are better together. So we gather. We gathered for this bike outing, and usually, maybe not usually, but we try to start off with the prayer and devotion. We started good at the beginning. But we tried to start out with some kind of prayer or so before we started, and then we would decide what route to take, and we would ride for a while, and just kind of see where we would go. So some people stayed with certain groups. I think I was probably the last one following, which was okay. But it was fun just to get on the trail and get out in nature and just be together. And of course, you know, we were spatially distant. We wore masks when we had to. So we tried to stay as safe as we can, even though I don't think we're wearing masks up in that picture, but we did. But it was good. It was good to gather. And how important it is as we're looking forward to 2021. I wish I could predict what this year is going to look like. I don't have a crystal ball. Can't tell you. But how important it is for us to gather. You guys know that as we gather here on Sunday mornings in person, as we gather online, Facebook and YouTube, to gather together as a community. We know the Spirit is here and present with us. But how important that is for us to remember that we are God's people, that we are on a mission. I've referenced this before, right? The Blues Brothers, we are on a mission from God, and how true that is. Not Jake and Elwood only, but all of us. We are on a mission from God. And for us to be able to gather together to hear God's word and just the devotions, you know, every day that are put out there. What an amazing thing that is, to be able to read scripture, but also to hear people's faith being shared in the written word, and how wonderful that is. But to be able to gather, hear God's word, to share in the body and blood of Christ, to be strengthened and nourished by that, to be able to pray together and sing together and work together. Because together we are better, and it's important for us to gather. Again, whether it's be in person or even online, because we're still connected online as well. But to know that we're not alone in this. This mission is too big for all of us. It's too big for any of us. We know God is present with us. but we remember how important it is to gather. We are better together. Next slide. I'm going to reference this whole bike thing to church. So next slide. There we are. I was taken on a bridge looking down. So we go. That's my next point. We go. We go on these trail rides, and we go for a certain amount of distance, and we turn around and come back. In this specific one, we actually met up at a different city. Usually we'd been doing Winter Garden. We'd been meeting up at City Hall, gathering there, but this time we met in Apopka at the City Hall, and we decided to go down a different road, a different track, which we hadn't been on before. Maybe we have individually, but not as a group. And, it's not like we were going into the wilderness per se. I mean, the roads were paved, plenty of signage, but it was new to us, kind of a new discovery, if you will. And we saw, some new things. We did encounter this wonderful antique shop, but we got to explore different places. And on this specific ride, we got to go somewhere where we hadn't gone before. And how true is that with 2021, right? If we think we know where we're headed, who knows? It's uncertain, isn't it? I mean, we've got the vaccine coming in. It's already here. It's great. People are getting shots and all that wonderful stuff. It's wonderful and amazing. And we hope that this pandemic can be over with soon, or at least be controlled, and people can get back to whatever the new reality is going to look like. But we're not sure. But we're going to keep on going, though. We want to go. We want to go out there and share God's word. And as we heard, I think from Cheryl mentioning it, we've been trying to do it in person, which has been wonderful, being able to get together live, but also doing it through social media, which has been a challenge for me, as you know. I barely know how to turn on a phone or a computer, but you know what? It's something I think is here to stay, isn't it? It's not in person or technology. It's both and now. And I think that's the way it's going to be from now on. I think it's going to be in person. It's going to be live stream. It's going to be technology. It's going to be face to face, but it's also going to be all this together. And I think for us to challenge ourselves, and I'm in this as well, because it doesn't make me comfortable having to learn technology, especially new computer stuff. I mean, we talk about Facebook, we talk about YouTube, but there's also Instagram and Twitter, and these are just words to me. And I've had experiences, maybe you have had too, where sometimes you hit the wrong button on a computer, you erase something, or you send something that shouldn't have gone out, and you're like, I'm never going to do that. And it just frustrates you, and you're like, I'm done with it. So it's a challenge for me to learn new things, but I think in this new year, it's important for us, especially if we are to share the gospel to people who may never ever come to our campus, for people who never ever come by our church, for people we may never see face to face. And we want to do that online. And maybe we could have more classes that hopefully help to teach us that, because I definitely need to learn that, and that's a growing edge for me. But we also look at going out to the communities that we have. We've been focusing on these communities for years, right? The Lighthouse families, the staff, Roadhouse kids and families, and our community as well. So we continue to go out and want to, as Carrie Newhoff said, connect with people, right? It's not about trying to get people so much to come to us as it is maybe now more so to go out to people and to be able to build relationships. And that's a challenge, and that's not always an easy thing to do. And of course, with the pandemic still going on, we still have to be careful, but we also want to pray and stay connected with that. So it's about going. But remember, together, we are better. Next slide. Last slide here. There we go. All right, celebrate. We want to celebrate. We've gathered, we've gone, and we want to celebrate. At the end of our rides, one of our traditions is to meet somewhere. It just, for the most part, it's always been the Crooked Can. We've always met on their property there, even though we've gone to different restaurants to get lunch. Everybody kind of goes and gets their thing and brings it back. And we share a meal together, we talk, we get to learn about one another better. And it's just a great time to be able to come together and just celebrate. We talk about maybe the ride, more so our lives and how things are going, and how important that is for us too, as we continue to do God's good work, to be able to share stories to one another. Again, how God has been active in our lives, how God has been active in the ministries that we have, and to be able to celebrate that, Christ is present with us. And it is amazing grace, and it is great joy that God gives to us in his son, Jesus. It is good news that we can't help but share. And it is something that we want to do, again, to celebrate that we're not alone in this. And it's great work that we have to do. Jesus Christ is with us, and it's part of our mission, part of our calling, part of our baptismal promises, if you will, that Christ is with us, and we have this great work to do, and it's something that we could celebrate. As we have Manuel at the beginning of worship, having us kind of charging us up for worship lately and stuff. I mean, knowing that our sins are forgiven, knowing that Jesus Christ is with us, knowing that we have life with him now and always is something that we should celebrate all the time and invite others to be part of that as well. That no matter what happens in our life, Jesus Christ is there. The love, the hope, the joy, and the peace, and something that the world needs. As our focus has been hope for this celebration of ministry, we know people are going to be looking for it, especially in 2021. And as we talked about too, maybe not being able to fund the counseling center doesn't mean we don't refer people. Definitely not that. It doesn't mean we don't help people, because we're definitely doing that. So, and again, I mean, that could be online. It could be giving people referrals as well. But we are going to continue to help and support people wherever they are. We also want to celebrate the fact that we are in this good work together, meaningful, purposeful work, and together we are better. So while I may not be able to tell you what 2021 is going to look like, to us as church, as we gather together, as we go, and as we celebrate, I think we're going to be okay. And we're going to know that the Holy Spirit will continue to lead us and guide us, and that Christ will be with us as Christ has always been with us, now and forever. So God bless you guys again. Thank you for all your support and all your help to make this ministry continue to take care of others and just help to continue to share the good news out there into the world. So thank you all for that. So, okay, we're almost done, right?
I'm done.
You're done? No, you're not done. Wrong words. Wrong words to say. You are not done. So come on up. Come on up here a second. All right. So I went back to my emails and I saw 2017 you were listed. So you must have, you've been on council for a while, but as council president, 2017, kind of as an interim?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. And what a blessing it's been for you to be leading council and just all that you brought to the table. Just the way you do the presentations, as we see here with slides, the meetings you run, how you keep positive, again, level-headed, open-mindedness, support, love and care, all that. So you've been definitely a blessing to be in that role. And we wish you the best in your other roles to come here in the church. Sign her up. Sign her up. So I have a gift here from the church, first of all.
Thank you.
And again, just to show our appreciation, especially going through the past year with everything being so uncertain and just being able to keep us on task and just continuing to lead us with your wisdom and courage and all the great things that you bring to the table. But I'd also like to invite up Nefti now for this other presentation as well.
I want to see what it is.
So,
oh, cool.
So I put together this little poem about hopefully describing your time here. So if we look through the letters, it spells out servant leader. So I'm going to go ahead and describe that to you. Strong and selfless. It's apparent that your care provided a special sustenance to push our congregation forwards, evenly inching towards a goal so we as a church rejoice within the mission of God's work with our hands. Valiantly, you've stood by and instructed us, creatively organizing an approach dedicated to empowering the congregation while also encouraging us to remain people-minded, nobly delegating, ensuring council acts methodically in session as you thoughtfully help orchestrate the future for our church's mission. Let me just say, Cheryl, leading is no easy feat. Every step taken requires a trust beyond our own understanding. It's a movement that pushes us to walk hand in hand with the Holy Spirit. Dare I say it, accountability comes from all aspects of the community you represent.
but yet you've shown a strength in your presence reflective of an admirable quality and succinct in its very nature. You empower others, all the while reflecting Christ as a servant leader. So I'll just speak for all and say it. Thank you, Cheryl, for serving as our council president.
I can't give him a hug because that would be against the 6 feet rule. Otherwise, consider yourself hugged. That's amazing, FD. Thank you so much. Really, I don't know that it's on anybody's bucket list to serve on church council, let alone be the president. But I will tell you, I mean, it really has been a blessing. It's been an honor. I've really learned a lot about myself. I think I've grown my faith. And again, it's just something I would encourage everybody to think about, how and where you can serve. We've talked a lot in council about offering is one thing. But it's not money that makes the church work. It's us, and it's each serving and doing our part. So thank you. Thank you very much for that. And now I think it's time for brats and beer. You going to bless this meal? Or
and,
yep.
Food blessing as well. So thank you. All right, let's pray. Lord, again, thank you for this time together that we can celebrate all that you're doing in us and through us, Lord. And we continue to ask for your blessings, Lord, again, on this church and all your churches and your people, Lord, as we go into 2021. Just help us to look for opportunities to serve you, Lord, by serving others. And just thank you, Lord, for our time together and for the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ. Thank you for this food you're about to receive. And Lord, again, we just always want to remember those who are having difficult times, those who are struggling. And Lord, help us always to point people to you. And Lord, just thank you for all that you do for us each and every day. We ask this all in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Go in peace. Serve the Lord. Amen.
Meeting adjourned, Krista. 12, 16, 17.